Dana White and Hunter Campbell absolutely cooked once again. Jamal Hill versus Khalil Rountree was never an interesting fight, had no stakes behind it, not a title shot whatsoever was on the line with that fight. Instead, Smith versus Dolidze will get the main event's winner in Pereira versus Prohaska 2. They will fight the winner. It's just the right fight. Weird timeline. I mean, all these fights are getting canceled, but at least we get Smith versus Dolidze. And yeah, dude, they fully gentrified this matchup and turned it from Hill versus Roundtree into Smith versus Dolidze. Let's just go through the timeline because it makes, no sense for this to happen whatsoever. So first, we had Hill versus Roundtree as the co-main event of 303. Khalil pulls out due to roids and whatever his supplement was or something. And he falls out. Bangkok Khalil is gone. And now, or we had Ulberg versus Hill. And then Jamal Hill talking all that smack, fanning out his cash in his rental Lamborghini or whatever, his supercar. Even if it's not rental, they just gave him a pity card for stepping in and getting KO'd at 300. He pulls out due to hurt feelings, alright? It wasn't a need. No fluids were in his leg whatsoever. His feelings were a bit hurt, so he had to sit back and relax. And we got a fresh matchup in Smith versus Ulberg. And whilst a lot of people were picking Ulberg, and Ulberg was a heavy favorite, you gotta take into mind that this guy was flatlined by Kennedy and Kennedy Nzechukwu, whatever. He got flatlined by him after he took his best shots. A guy with no chin whatsoever took all of Ulberg's shots. A guy who lost to OSP, by the way, Vince St. Preux, in 2024. Embarrassing. And a lot of people counting out Smith. Smith is the only fighter in UFC history, in MMA history, to have 2 wins over Ryan Spann. You got to take that into account when you're predicting these things. Alright? But Ulberg falls out. I don't know why. I guess he got injured as well. It hasn't been disclosed yet. And they announced Roman Dolidze, the most unexpected matchup for Anthony Smith. I was looking at the rankings thinking maybe Jan Blachowicz will step up, because he's coming off a shoulder surgery. He wants a fresh bounce back, and he wants to get his groove and whatnot and get a win and get back into the title picture with a win over Smith, of course. But I guess they had to go to Roman Dolidze to just keep this fight on the card, or else for an International Fight Week card, it would have been hella understacked, especially with Smith's lack of presence there. If he wasn't on the card would, be in shambles without the main event and whatnot. But hey, they went with Roman Dolidze, and I was talking to my guy Burt MMA, the legendary Burt MMA, and he told me a few hours before the fight got made and whatnot that they were looking for a top 10 middleweight. He gave me the clue that the replacement was a top 10 middleweight after, I guess, for Jan Blachowicz, and I was bewildered. I had no idea they would go to a middleweight. I actually thought they would give Smith a heavyweight, because I remember before the Ankalaev fight, this guy was pushing to get a fight, and he said he was even tempted to go to heavyweight, so maybe he would have taken a short notice thing there and, went after Jones for the rematch and whatnot by getting a win against anyone. But he said middleweight, and so I took a look at the rankings, and I told myself, okay, what makes the most sense? Because Smith is one of the greats. He deserves a top-notch match, a good recognizable name, because if you take away his 19 losses, he is undefeated, right? And an undefeated record is what gets numbers and headlines and whatnot, so you got to take that into account. And I looked at these rankings, and I told myself there's only 2 legit contenders for the Smith fight if it's a top 10 middleweight. It has to be either Cannonier, because that stoppage was horrible, and I was thinking they would want to put him in as like a condolence act, like, oh, your fight got stopped, so we'll put you into the fight, and you have a chance to rebound your career as a 40-year-old middleweight who's really far from the middleweight title picture, with like Strickland and Adesanya undeserved. Whitaker, if he wins and whatnot. Duplessis, he'll be out of that picture because he's coming off a loss to Mavov, as horrible of a stoppage as it is. So yeah, I was thinking Cannonier didn't get hurt. He'll turn around. I was also thinking Paulo Costa. The guy said he wanted to fight 3 times in a year. He tends to only want to fight higher ranked guys. I'm guessing Paulo's going to now push for a Cannonier matchup, which is undeserved. But I thought Paulo would take the Smith fight and he would, do some memes and stuff, whatnot, saying like Smith is one of the greats at the press conference. And he'd push that narrative, He'd push that narrative. But nope, they moved Roman Dolidze into the top 10. Tying with Chimaev, and apparently that's enough to match him with Smith. This guy only has one win, one ranked win against Jack Hermanson, right? I was also thinking Jack Hermanson, but he only needs to fight prospects. One of the more underrated gatekeepers in the UFC. But sorry, they moved him in, and he only has one ranked win over Hermanson. And that was a win in one exchange where, everyone knows the story, right? Hermanson pieces him up, and he goes for a dump takedown against the guy who knows how to grapple and not know how to strike. Yeah. One win, coming off 2 losses to Vettori and Imavov. The Vettori loss hasn't aged well, but I think he won that fight. It's one of my hotter takes. He somehow outstruck Marvin Vettori, and he definitely won round 1. It's debatable, but I think he won. But he clearly lost to Imavov at pretty much every round. Had a few moments there. But what else has he done? He lost to Trevin Giles, who's been getting flatlined by everyone known to man. And yeah, but Smith versus Dolidze is what we're going to roll with, I guess. We're picking Smith. Smith wins. If Pereira wins, there is only one fight to make. This is it. This is the only fight to make. Pereira versus Smith has to happen. I know this was one of my older edits for the 301 card where I just, made that stuff up. This fight has to be made. Ankalaev can fight someone else. He deserves a shot, though, in my opinion. But this is the fight that sells. Call me crazy, but if Pereira doesn't land more than 5 leg kicks in round 1 to, demobilize Smith, he could get a takedown and control Pereira and get him tired and whatnot. Maybe, and that's maybe. But, he's a GOAT. He'll pull it off. And the image you see on the right, one of the craziest edits. I would have never thought to make this. Cage Menace posted this, Emil. And Emil posted this. I don't know who actually made it. I can't remember, but someone else made it. But, man, dude, if this actually happens, one of the crazy... This is the biggest blockbuster pay-per-view. You have one of the GOATs. And everyone's saying Pereira is now the face of the UFC now that McGregor's, not getting into things. Come on. This is the fight after he beats Dolidze. 2-fight win streak, by the way, for Smith. 2 wins over Ryan Spann. Nobody else has that on the record. He's the last man to have John Jones shaking for his title. Right? Nobody remembers that. John Jones was literally praying in the corner after he kneed Smith to the face. Right? Think about it. But hey, weird change of events once again. Just gotta roll with it. Anyway, appreciate it. Out.